Hey everyone, Shawn at Kitesurf North America here. We're ready to get started and start talking about some of the fundamentals and the basics of kitesurfing. So you want to get into it, you don't really know, that's the majority of the people. And if you are more advanced, then this is going to be the basic fundamental stuff and you've been through this before, as you know. But in any case, wind theory is one of the things that we need to talk about. Understanding wind, how it works, what to do, when to use wind, what size of kite to use with how much wind is blowing. There is a difference. Most kiters have a quiver of kites. They have, 150 to 175 pound person would have anywhere from a 7, 9, and a 12 meter. And if you're 170 to 200 pounds, you probably have a 9, 12, and a 15 meter. And that's just going off of the Wyman Hawaii brands that I represent. But every brand has all different sizes, but in general, that's what you want. And the reason why you have a quiver is because if it's really nuking out there, you don't want to be on a big kite because it's going to grab more wind and it's going to take you. And you can't control it. You can't dig your heels into either the snow or the water and maintain board control. So first off, we're going to get started with wind. And right here on the board, I've got a couple of subjects that we're going to talk about. And that is onshore, offshore, side on, side off, and cross. So it's real simple to understand. Here's the land bar. So everything below is land and everything above is water. And you can take this to snow in a different realm, but just in understanding wind, this is what we're going to go over. So onshore wind is really simple. It's pretty basic, and it's wind. This just coming straight on. It's just coming in, small gusts, big gusts, and we'll talk about gusts, thermals, and stuff like that here in just a minute. But just to get the basic fundamental across, there's onshore wind, and as you can guess, the offshore is going to be wind that's taking you out. And the reason why we need to understand these two concepts is because if you're out there in a kite and the wind dies down and you're on an offshore wind, you're going to just be floating along and your kite's going to go down in the water and you're going to be swimming. And you're going to go, oh no, I'm not getting closer to land. So especially starting out and even all the way up to an advanced level, guys just don't go out in offshore wind. A lot of times it's the ocean or the sea or even a lake. I was up at Lake McConaughey, and that's in Nebraska, and I was too new and I was too gung-ho and ready to go. Nobody else was going out, and I thought, wow, that's wild, the wind's blowing. And I went out and my kite went down. No, I had to bring my kite down because a board strap came off on my board. And so I didn't know how to maintain board control without straps. You know, and as you'll see in some of the Team Rider videos and photos, they go out on surfboards and they're doing aerials with their feet, not even strapped to the surfboard on waves. So I was way too new in the beginning to understand that you can even ride a board without straps. So I had to bring my kite down. It was windy, and I just kept floating farther and farther out into the lake. And there are boaters that will stop by and ask, but not always. And I didn't want to make a scene, and I said, no, I'm fine, I'm cool. And I didn't really have anything to do. I had just taken sea survival, sea first aid, sea firefighting, and all this other stuff in Florida. And I thought, well, there's no sharks, I can see land, we're doing good. So I basically did a self-rescue where you go out and you wind up your lines and you basically sit on your kite. I used it as a raft, but as a real self-rescue is you grab both ends of the wing and you steer it in, and we'll get into all that down the road. But anyway, offshore wind, you're going to be taken out. And the wind may still be blowing, but it may not be blowing strong enough for you to relaunch your kite if something goes wrong. So it'll be big enough to lay on the water and catch wind and keep dragging you out farther and farther, but not strong enough to lift and for you to go back upwind and get back to shore. So only experts of experts go out on offshore wind, and that's only if they've got backup support of a boat, a jet ski, or there's a land, like in La Ventana. The land kind of does one of these things, and that's La Ventana, Mexico, by the way, but the land is kind of like a catcher's mitt. And so, you know, when you do have different wind, you can at least be brought back. And that wind down there is generated by a thermal. We'll get into that into a second too, but just for the sake of this lesson, you want onshore wind more than anything. As a beginner, onshore wind is harder to get out on the water as a beginner. So ideally, you want side on, and it could be either way. Side on means it's coming on shore but at an angle. And this is a great way for you to get out. If the wind's coming this way, you can get out and then you can tack back, and then but you'll always be blown back into land. And this is the case of La Ventana here, where the catcher's mitt, and it's always blowing on this side on angle, and there's always land down here. So this is a pretty basic fundamental, and of course, as you guessed, the other way that wind is blowing is crosswind or cross shore. So you can, once you get past your beginner level and you get into more novice, advanced, you know how to go out and get back. You know how to use this wind going sideways to get out and get back. You will get blown that way, but you always know how to steer your kite. Let's say you lose your board, you know how to body drag to land. And that'll be another subject. We got a lot of stuff to cover, and I'm just going to do micro subjects just to get something in your head so you can digest it, think about it, then you'll be ready to go for the next one. And a lot of this, even at an advanced level, it's all mental visualization and preparation, especially when you get into doing the tricks and the real, you know, tricky tricks of, you know, backhand passes and flips and landing toe side, all this, and backwards, all this other stuff. Everyone goes through it in a visual sense first, so that's a real big component. And before even touching a kite and playing with the wind window, it's better to visualize the concept of how you're going to steer that kite. So that's another fundamental. So some other things you want to keep in mind when you're getting out into the shore, or when you're getting out to a kite zone, you want to stop by and see what the other kiters are doing. You want to talk to them, ask them about any dangers that are happening that aren't seen, that might be in the water. You know, what the territory's like, you know, typical wind gusts, launch, land areas, just basically getting a local feel for what's going on. And most of all, every place has local rules. They know the community and the authorities that are governing that area, whether it's in your state or your country or another country. You want to ask what the local rules are. And you'll find in the kite surfing community, everyone wants to help. Everyone's super friendly for the most part. And you get some of these guys off in left field every now and then, but the majority is everyone's helping, because we all depend on each other. Everyone's always looking out for each other. It's a super cool community. We're always having someone help with the launch and the land of the kites, and there's some hand signals that are covered in the thing. The basic thing is you're ready to launch or you're ready to land your kite. So, you know, typically you're coming in with your kite in one hand and you're coming into shore and you grab your board and you walk on, and people will be looking at you and you'll be like, hey, and someone will, or ask you, they'll do this to you and you'll be like, yeah. And that's a confirmation that you want to land your kite. And so we'll get through steering your kite and how to land it. You can do self-lands, but, you know, for the sake of your kite, you don't always want to be throwing it down and quick twisting it. You can, but there's, you know, we'll get into the whole thing of, you know, what to look for on the beach as far as that goes. And real quick, you know, when you're looking for a place to set up and launch and go, you're always going to be downwind to the swimmers. They always have first right of way, period. So, and a lot of times windsurfers and kiters have designated spots. So these are all things you want to keep in mind of when you're scoping out an area, who's there, what are the local rules, and how you can best do that. So that's 10 minutes. We'll get you another video, and we'll go from there. Thanks for stopping by.